We stand today just a few days, or it feels like a few days to me, because I'm still looking at the to-do list for Rosh Hashanah. And as I was contemplating the Torah portion, blessings and curses read right before Rosh Hashanah by an ancient decree of the scribe Ezra, it's intended, I think, not simply to frighten us. In fact, I think it's supposed to teach us something even more profound. This lesson that we are inextricably bound to one another. This week, that became an even more painful moment in our society when we witnessed the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Whatever we individually may have thought about his politics, he was doing what democracy asks, showing up, having conversations, engaging in dialogue, participating in the very messy work that is democracy. Work that requires conversation, persuasion over violence. His murder doesn't just represent a loss of his life, but a wound to the fabric that holds our society together. The Torah reminds us that when our ancestors stood ready to enter the promised land, they were transformed from individuals who thought of their own needs toward a group of people who were collectively being held responsible for the well-being of the community. This aravut, this recognition of responsibility, has each of us being guarantors for one another. And while of course it's a wonderful sentiment to help your neighbor, to take care of others, it requires us to think deeply about how we do that. In truth, it's not just the easy thing. It requires being present in uncomfortable conversations. At the time for the Israelites, it required a restructuring of their previous moral reality from servitude toward nation, as individuals who needed to engage in deep growth. I was contemplating all of this as I had a conversation with my neighbor when we were talking about, of all things, birds, because it turns out birds are fascinating creatures. And I remembered when looking at them flying across the sky that they need the right wing and their left wing. They cannot fly with one or the other. In fact, if you can imagine it, they're not going to go very far or anywhere very well. And what is our symbol? As a country, the American eagle, no less. An eagle with two wings, which do move in different directions, here and here. And yet both are required for the eagle to fly. Severing of one versus the other, or over the other, the eagle cannot fly. And when one wing tries to function independent, instead of a triumphant flight, we have a catastrophic spiral. Charlie Kirk and I may have been on different sides of political arguments. As one columnist noted earlier this week, it was Ezra Klein specifically, Charlie Kirk and Ezra Klein were needed to balance each other out, in Ezra Klein's words. In maintaining a democracy, all voices matter. Political violence, though, is a virus, and like all viruses, it hits people indiscriminately. And when we accept violence against those with whom we disagree, we normalize violence against all. The list of recent political violence in America reads like a roll call of both parties. The plot against Governor Whitmore, the assault against Paul Pelosi, the assassination attempt against President Trump, the murder of Brian Thomas, the attacks on Governor Shapiro, and now Charlie Kirk. It spreads regardless of ideology. In this moment, I believe it is moral and mutual responsibility that reminds us that more than taking sides, it is imperative of us to recall the humanity of the other. That political divides are not necessarily present to be eliminated, but our fellow citizens whose well-being depends upon our own is more important. That it doesn't matter if we disagree, rather, again, the eagle doesn't move anywhere relying only on one wing. Democracy thrives rather on disagreement, on creative tensions between and arguments around the good society. Disagreements, of course, I think foster a better outcome because it forces us to refine ideas into better solutions for problems we all face. When we read those blessings and curses before Rosh Hashanah, we are reminded that our choices, in fact, have consequences, not for ourselves specifically or solely, but for all of us, for our entire community. The blessing promised by following God's ways is not a singular blessing, it's a communal one. The curses threatened for abandoning the covenant aren't curses against one, they're communal curses. As we move toward the high holidays, we don't work and pray regarding individual tshuva. It's achet shechatanu lefanecha, achet shechatanu. We are calling about the sins that we have all committed, and we name out the entire list because the truth is somebody in this sanctuary may have committed something on that list. It's imperative of us to reject the dehumanization of others, political opponents or others regardless, to defend the rights of all people, to participate in dialogue, to practice responsibility communally, regardless of political affiliations, and to model so even in the face of challenging social media posts and conversation. The American eagle, like I mentioned, cannot soar only on one wing. Our democracy cannot thrive on the views that only half the country possess. Half of us aren't enemies to be eliminated or fellow citizens to be engaged with. On these days, as we lead up into the high holidays and we engage in the work of tshuva collectively, let's remember that our individual spiritual growth is inseparable from our communal healing. That tikkun olam includes tikkun etzmi, that repair of the world includes repair of the self, that they are not mutually exclusive. The curses that threaten us, that of political violence, the breakdown of democratic norms, the loss of our ability to live together despite disagreements are not inevitable. These are consequences of choices we have made either individually and or collectively. But the blessings are present too. The blessing of a society where disagreement leads to deeper understanding over violence. The blessing of a democracy where we can all participate without fear. The blessing of recognizing that we are indeed our brother and sisters' keepers, even when, and especially when, they belong to another political party or wing. As we prepare for the holidays, may we commit not just to being better individuals, but may we be committed to making our democracy better. May we remember that mutual responsibility for one another is not an ancient Jewish teaching, rather an urgent American Jewish necessity. We are not two nations, we are one. We are not separate creatures, we are one eagle with two wings, soaring toward justice, God willing, toward peace, toward a more perfect union that will always remain, God willing, our shared aspiration. Ken Yehi Ratzon.